must get the mustaches up.
Good morning, friends. Today, our guest is a man of versatile talents, Major General G.D. Bakshi. He's possibly India's most famous thinking and talking military veteran, certainly the most popular with resurgent nationalists. He's also the author of several well researched books on military strategy. He is best known for his forceful articulation of the national interest on prime time news on several channels. Ex-Army General Bakshi is from Jammu and Kashmir Rifles. He was awarded the Vishisht Seva Medal for commanding a battalion in the Kargil War. Later, he was awarded the Sena Medal for distinguished service in commanding a battalion during counter-insurgency drives. He subsequently commanded the Romeo Force, which is a part of the elite Rashtriya Rifles, during intensive counter-insurgency operations in the Rajouri Poonch districts of Jammu and Kashmir, and succeeded in suppressing the armed militancy in this area. He has served 2 tenures at the Directorate General of Military Operations and was the first BGS IW at HQ Northern Command, where he dealt with information warfare and psychological operations. Welcome to our channel, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll go to the first question, sir, because I know you're very busy. In the Pakistani parliament, Ayaz Sadiq said that General Bajwa came into the room and his legs were shaking and sweating. Foreign Minister S.M. Qureshi said, "For God's sake, let Abhinandan go. India is about to attack Pakistan at 9 p.m." Now, when PM Modi was asked what really happened, that Pakistan was forced to return Wing Commander Abhinandan, he said, "This is a thing which will remain a secret for a long time to come. We have been watching what's happening in Pakistan. Whatever PM Imran Khan said is a lie. They engineered the Pulwama attack and they returned Wing Commander Abhinandan more out of intense fear of Indian attack than any kind of ethics." What, sir, would you say has really happened? Do you have any information that you can share with our viewers?
Okay, taking it in the sequence in which you raise the
Yeah,
issues.
yes, yes.
Firstly, the fear, the abject fear in the Pakistani establishment of an Indian massive strike. The simple fact is that after, Pulwama, we had decided to raise costs and consequences for Pakistan.
Yeah.
We had carried out the Balakot airstrike with our Mirage 2000 aircraft, 80 kilometers inside Pakistan at the Balakot terrorist camp, and we had destroyed the terrorist camp. This had shaken Pakistan because it thought there was a nuclear backdrop. There was a nuclear threat which would restrain India from ever taking any action to counter Pakistan. And they were actually truly shocked. But they had their contingency plans and they retaliated the next day in the area of Rajouri, Poonch. They tried to attack Indian military establishment. It's another joke that their bombs fell well short and it was more of a fiasco. And Abhinandan, he chased one of those aircraft and shot down an F-16. Unfortunately, in the bargain, he was shot down himself. Now, there was a great worry in India that, just like Saurabh Kalia, you remember that name? Captain Saurabh Kalia, who was tortured horribly. He and his men were tortured. Their whole bodies had bone, cigarette marks of burns. Every bone was broken. Their limbs were cut, eyes gouged out. It was insane torture. Insane torture. And therefore, we were worried that they might do this to, Abhinandan. And therefore, the Roy Act was read out to Pakistan. Give us Abhinandan back by tonight or else. The message was conveyed to the United States to pass it on to them. And they in turn told the Saudi Arabians, who were then very close to Pakistan. And the Saudi Arabians conveyed to them that if you don't behave, then you will be responsible for all the consequences that follow, because the Indian armed forces are fully poised and ready, and you could chew off more than you have bargained for, much more than you have bargained for. And quite obviously, when he was read the riot out, General Bajwa broke into cold sweat. His
Yeah.
legs, as per the testimony of the Pakistani member of the leader of the opposition, began to tremble, and he was there himself. So I don't think he has any reason to really tell lies. What is amazing is that in Pakistan, where the army is a holy cow, sacrosanct, you can't
Yes.
talk against the army one word. You can't whisper against it, otherwise you just vanish the next day.
Yes.
People have summoned up the courage to talk against the
Speak.
Pakistan army and show it up for what it was.
Yeah.
Bajwa had genuine reasons to fear.
Yeah.
Genuine reasons to fear because, I mean, I was commissioned into the Indian Army in November 71. My batch was commissioned a month ahead of schedule so that we could take part in the Bangladesh war. We have seen that war, Arthur, right? We have seen that war and we have seen what happened to Pakistan. In 14 days flat, Pakistan was broken into two. We had marched 550 kilometers inside East Pakistan, then East Pakistan, and liberated the capital city of Dhaka. 93,000 Pakistani prisoners had surrendered. It was one of the largest mass surrenders after the Second World War.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is Pakistan has genuine reason to worry, right? It has genuine reason to worry. The second part of your question,
yeah, please,
sorry, can I just finish?
Yeah, please.
So the second part of your question pertained to the statement of the minister, of the Pakistani minister on the floor of their parliament.
Yes.
Look, that's not an off-the-cuff statement.
Yeah.
And in that statement, he clearly articulated the fact that we went in deep into Pulwama, unke ghar mein ghus ke mara, and it was the greatest achievement of the Imran Khan government and, the Pakistani nation per se. I mean, he was crowing over what they had done in Pulwama. And what had they done in Pulwama? Sent a bloody terrorist suicide bomber, a vehicle filled with explosives, which had the boys, unarmed boys who were coming back from leave of the CRPF. 40 of them, over 40 of them were martyred on the spot.
Yeah.
You find something to be very proud of in that? This is an admission that Pakistan is a terrorist state. India should play this video to the Financial Action Task Force. India should play this video in the UN Security Council.
Yes.
India should play this video in the UN General Assembly so that Pakistan is shown up to be a terrorist state and this official admission is made known to all. All that, subsequent arguments that, I was talking of the air attack that we had done, etc., or attempted. That air attack was in Rajouri, Poonch.
Yeah.
About 600 kilometers from Pulwama. Pulwama is north of the Pir Panjal, please. Rajouri, Poonch is this south side of the Pir Panjal. So where is the correlation? When you talk geography, I mean, either you are drunk when you are on the floor of the parliament, either you are, asleep or whatever. You are asleep or whatever on the wheel. But the simple fact of the matter is that the minister made a candid admission about Pulwama. And we all know what happened at Pulwama. So, we don't need to be educated on that score. Thank you.
Yeah. Sir, the funny thing is that if you look at our mainstream media, Rajdeep Sardesai, he rushed to Fawad Chowdhury's rescue and allowed him to clarify the attack. NDTV follows suit, and we find that the channel is more like Pakistan today than India today. Are Lutyens' media with us, with India, or with Pakistan?
It's very curious. These are the medias that were die-hard supporters of the Congress party in the UPA incarnation. And
so your camera is just a little.
One second.
Yeah. Are you okay? Viewers, we'll just wait for Major General Bakshi to join again. There's some technical issue here. Yes. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah. 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 So are these channels actually speaking for Pakistan or for India?
Look, the simple fact is there is an echo. I don't know. Acha. The,
Yeah.
the, oh, the simple fact is that these channels have been extremely supportive of the erstwhile UPA viewpoint. They have gone out of the way to promote that so-called leftist liberal ideology. And
Yes.
a part of that ideology was to go deliberately soft on Pakistan.
Yeah.
Because the Americans at that stage did not want you to do anything to disturb Pakistan, which was helping them in their so-called war against terror, in their war against the Taliban and Al Qaeda, etc. So the Americans were most unkeen that India does anything to distract or disturb or force Pakistan to look this way.
Yes.
So the Americans put pressure on the UPA that you will do nothing. To any mass casualty attacks by Pakistan, you will do nothing. And we obeyed and we did nothing. We gave primacy to American interests rather than our own. And the fact of the matter is that for the last 30 years, 80,000 Indians have been killed by the Pakistani asymmetric warfare offensive through the instrumentality of terrorism. Right? There were about 21,000 killed in the Punjab. There were about 45,000 plus killed in J&K. And there are about 15,000 killed in the rest of India. That adds up to 80,000 Indians killed. I agree they were not in the Zulu category. But does that mean that they are gutter snipes? They can just be killed? It doesn't matter a damn to the UPA dispensation how many Indians died. They are more concerned about safeguarding American interests than Indian.
Yes. Mm.
And it is part of that they still want to go soft on Pakistan.
Yeah.
Whereas when the Indian government came, you would observe that they tried to make peace with Pakistan, and when Pakistan was adamant in continuing with its asymmetric warfare offensive against India, well, then they decided to raise costs and consequences by not just reacting, by not just being reactive and trying consequence management on one side of the territory, but by attacking across the line of control first in the post-Uri strike, the surgical strike, in which we went in about 2.5 kilometers deep and killed 30 to 40 terrorists as they were sleeping in their launch pad. For 3 to 4 months, Pakistan was quiet. And then Pakistan thought that, oh, this is hardly, we can bear this.
Yeah.
We can grin and bear this, take it on the chin. So they did Pulwama. And Pulwama, they killed about 45 Indian paramilitary central police organization personnel. And then India decided to hit back across the international border. Please don't forget that Balakot is not in POK. Balakot is in Pakhtunkhwa proper, inside Pakistan proper. So our Mirages went in 80 kilometers deep and blasted that terrorist training camp. Estimates of casualties vary, but at least 200 to 300 have been even spoken of by European observers, right? So Pakistan was absolutely shaken. And thereafter, you will observe that Pakistan has been quiet so far. Even when we abrogated Article 370, Pakistan did nothing because this policy worked, because it raised costs and consequences. Had that been done 30 years ago, India would not have bled so much.
Yes.
But the fact is, the UPA wasn't concerned.
Yeah.
It wasn't concerned. And then it had started to stave off pressure to react against Pakistan. It started this pernicious Hindu terror theory. People were tortured. People were, that Sadhvi Pragya was
Yes.
beaten.
Yes.
Salman Purohit was
Yeah.
tortured black and blue to confess that it was the Hindu organizations that were mainly behind terror. And
Yeah.
please don't forget that in 26/11, all the 10 mass murderers who had come across were all wearing the Mauli thread like this.
Yes. Yes.
You see?
Mm.
And thank God for Umle, who laid down his life, to capture Kasab Alai, Ajmal Amir Kasab Alai. Had that
Yes.
not happened, there were books already ready. How 26/11 was a Hindu terror plot. I mean, I
Yeah.
dislike the way they pronounce the word Hindu, you know.
Yes.
But the fact is that they had already got their narrative worked out. That no pressure is put on them to react to Pakistan. Why should we react to Pakistan?
Yeah.
Manufacture truth. Oh, it's all within. It's all these Hindu specimens who are doing this. We must strike out against Hinduism as a religion per se. And, I mean, it is utterly amazing.
Yes.
You torture people, you destroy the careers of soldiers who are doing their job, and you get away with it scot-free. You go laughing all the way to the bank.
Why
And
were
therefore,
yeah.
and all these, media personnel, leftist, liberal, they were supporting this. They were supporting this. And that is the pity. They are still supporting.
Why was UPA slaves to Pakistan?
Hello?
Yeah. Why was UPA behaving like slaves to Pakistan?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Oh God, there is so much. What do I do about the echo?
You speak, sir. It's quite clear for us. On our end, it's very clear.
The echo is in my
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'll do is I've taken the question. I'll remove
Yeah.
the earplug.
Yeah.
Right. Why was the UPA so beholden to Pakistan?
Pakistan.
It was not really beholden to Pakistan. It was beholden to the United States of America. And as I mentioned, United States was then fighting a war in Afghanistan. Right?
Yes.
They were fighting a war in Afghanistan, and Pakistan was providing the logistic support, the communications, etc., and ostensibly helping the Americans in their war against terror. The simple fact is they begged the Americans dry of billions of dollars, and they had the chutzpah to have Osama bin Laden, to give shelter to Osama bin Laden, just 100 miles away from Islamabad in Abbottabad, 800 meters from the Pakistan Military Academy, Kabul.
Yes.
So it is really a subset of the American pressure.
Yes.
Because they did not want Pakistan disturbed. Pakistan was looking for an excuse to get out of that war against terror, because it was being made to kill the same Taliban or to help in the slaughter of the same Taliban that it had raised and trained and funded and sent into Afghanistan, right? So the Pakistanis wanted an excuse. The best excuse they could have gotten was a war or a conflict with India. They would have straight away moved all their troops from the western side to the eastern border. So the Americans were trying. Actually, the Americans were not really that blameworthy, because they were looking after their national interest. It is the duty of every country to protect its own national interest.
Yes.
But that was not so for the UPA.
Yes.
They were more interested in safeguarding American national interest than Indian national interest. And Indian citizens were the least of their concerns. How many get killed, how many get slaughtered was the least concern of theirs. I mean, who cares if ordinary Indians die in the Zaveri Bazaar in Mumbai, or in the bomb blast in Delhi, Ahmedabad, Bengaluru, Calcutta, wherever? It was a free for all. Kill Indian citizens with some kind of a bloody sport.
Yeah.
You see, that is what is disgusting. They did not have the moral courage to tell the United States, go take a walk. We will not accept the killing of our citizens. Indians are not for killing. We will hit back at Pakistan. What did they do after 26/11? They sent dossier after dossier, worshipping the Pakistani courts to please give us justice. Pakistan raised these terror outfits. Pakistan funded them, financed them, trained them, armed them, equipped them, and infiltrated them into India to carry out mayhem. You go back to the same Pakistan with kilotons of dossiers. Please take action against them. Are you not? Are you crazy? I mean, it is utterly amazing. And there were a whole host of the Indian bureaucracy, police, who for their furthering of their careers were going all out to support this project to, raise Hindu terror to the level of a global terror outbreak and to blame it on the Indic civilization and to sort out their political enemies by branding them as terrorists. You see, we all know that stories are coming out today of the torture of Sadhvi Pragya, the torture, the abject torture of Colonel Purohit and the other innocent people, which you try to force with a narrative. Why? Because that would take the pressure off the then Indian government to react, retaliate against Pakistan and annoy the Americans in the market. I mean, beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, I haven't. Are we still a colony? Is it that the empire has shifted to the other side of the Atlantic or what? We must talk to the Americans as equal.
Yes.
We must emphasize our national security. And if you do it, they are also reasonable people. They will understand.
Yeah.
They would have understood if we had hit back at Pakistan. They have understood now. In fact, they have given you the nod and the wink to go right ahead. And they openly accepted it. Donald Trump openly said, yes, he supported the airstrike. India has all the right to retaliate.
Yes.
All the right to retaliate. Yeah.
Yeah. So we know that Pakistan is quite unpredictable. So how prepared is India in case they thrust a war upon us?
Look, let me put it in perspective. After the Balakot strike, Pakistan was shaken because they suddenly stared full-scale war in the face. And if there is one thing that can do Pakistan in right now, is a full-scale war or even a limited war with India, because it will destroy their economy.
Yes.
Whatever be the outcome of that war, outright victory for India, stalemate, whatever, it will destroy the Pakistani economy, sink it down the flush hole of history, right? So Pakistan was deeply worried after Balakot. And the Chinese found that Pakistan is one very good check on India. So they were keen that Pakistan should not lose its nerve to keep fighting and bleeding India.
Yes.
And that is why they have staged the Tamasha in eastern Ladakh. This year, they staged the Tamasha in eastern Ladakh. It was primarily to encourage Pakistan. Hum bhi hain, we are there. Higher than the mountains, deeper than the seas is our friendship. And if India does something to you, we are here on their border. And we have got them where we want. So you carry on with your terrorist strikes against India. Why have you stopped? Why have you stopped? Why are you worried? We are there to protect you. We are there to help you. It's another matter that the Chinese have cut a rather sorry figure. Because they did bargain for the Indian army that is so good at mountain warfare. We have constructed our infrastructure in the border, which we hadn't done for 50, 60 years. Right? And we reacted, though initially we were surprised because of COVID. We weren't expecting the Chinese to do this. They suddenly moved 2 divisions from Xinjiang opposite eastern Ladakh to threaten our new lines of communication. But then India reacted swiftly. By end August, we had built up the force level. And in September, we surprised the Chinese by a very, very adroit counter move. The Chinese came in north of the Pangong Tso, we went in south of the Pangong Tso, which is the traditional invasion route from Tibet to Ladakh and from Ladakh to Tibet.
Yeah.
This is what leads to the Kailash Mansarovar, the holiest area of the Hindu civilization, the Indic civilization, Kailash Mansarovar. Don't forget, in 1841, it is from here that General Zorawar Singh had attacked Tibet, right? He had captured, they freed the Mansarovar lake and the Kailash mountain holy area, right? And it was just General Winter that defeated him in Tibet. Otherwise, he had gone right up to 700 kilometers inside Tibet.
Yes.
So, on the same invasion route, India secured all the heights on the Kailash range.
Yes.
The heights on Black Top, Helmet Top, Mother Hill, Gurung Hill, Rezangla, where the battle took place, and Rechilla, we have secured. And suddenly the Chinese are feeling quite foolish. The Chinese army is in no state to fight. We need to call their bloody bluff, right? They haven't fought a war for the last 42 years, and the last war that they fought with Vietnam ended in a bloody nose for the Chinese army. They have a one-child norm. That one child is not prepared to die. The parents don't want him dead, they have only one child. Please understand that. The worst person you can send to war is a single child.
Yeah.
You can't send him to war, right? And the simple fact of the matter is that that one child also comes for a 4-year conscription period, in which his primary objective is to somehow stay alive and get back to his mama and papa.
Yes.
They are soft. It's not the same Chinese army which came in 1962.
Early.
And by the way, it's not the same Indian army as was in 1962. Today, we are one of the most combat tested forces and one of the best in mountain warfare, even as per the admission of the Chinese. So the Chinese are now shaken up and they are now trying to get help from Pakistan because they feel they can fight better than the Chinese army itself.
Yeah.
Because they have more practice fighting with India. So they are trying to get Pakistan to somehow come into the fray. But the fact is, Pakistan itself is in deep trouble now with what is happening in Sindh, with what is happening in Baluchistan, in Gilgit, in Pakhtunkhwa. Everywhere there is chaos inside Pakistan. They are not in the pink of health to think of military attacks against India. If they do, they will be doomed as a country. Their economy will be flushed down the tube of history.
Yes.
And let them try. Let them try. If they are so keen, they will be activating their death wish. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Can you tell us something about what is really happening in Pakistan now? They are bankrupt. They are under grey list of FATA. The political system has totally collapsed. And Imran Khan has been rejected by even the Muslim world as an incompetent PM.
Thank you. You know, the Pakistani military establishment are the real kingmakers in Pakistan. 30 years out of their 74, they have ruled directly, martial law. But then they realized that that doesn't quite work well because they have to take all the flak and the global pressure, which is quite against military regime. So they very smartly came to the solution that it is better to control things from behind stage, to puppeteer, to put up a civilian facade and rule with no responsibility. And if the going gets too tough, sacrifice that facade, sacrifice that sacrificial lamb. And in this case, it's going to be Imran Khan.
Yes.
Imran Khan is not an elected prime minister. He is a selected prime minister, selected by General Bajwa to get him a 3-year extension, which he has performed beautifully. He has done that. But because of that, there are dissensions within the Pakistan army. A number of generals whose chances for promotion were affected because of General Bajwa's continuation for 3 years are not very happy. The second thing is Pakistan and its army have placed Pakistan entirely in the Chinese-Turkish camp.
Yes.
And that has upset the American CIA and Turkey and the Saudi Arabian Mukhabarat intelligence agency very deeply. They are very deeply disturbed. So a lot of the chaos that you see happening inside Pakistan today, well, please be rest assured that the CIA and the Mukhabarat of Saudi Arabia have a major hand. They're both not short of funds. Let me be very candid. They're both not short of funds, and everybody in Pakistan is purchasable, has a damn price. So that is what you are seeing. There is a very major ferment against Imran Khan. And for once, people have taken up the courage to speak against the Pakistan army. I mean, they are openly denigrating Bajwa. That has never happened before. The Pakistani army was a holy cow, sacred cow you couldn't touch. You know, but like I said, there are the three A's that have always, guided the destiny of Pakistan: the army, America, and Allah. Not necessarily in that order.
Yes.
You see, so there is a big ferment going on in Pakistan, which is good for us, because it will keep them out of mischief this side. Because if they do, they will hasten their collapse as a nation.
Yes.
Hasten their economic and military collapse. And they can thank China for that.
So there is a lot of atrocities against the Baloch people. They have been suffering for quite some time. There's nobody to stand with them. So could you just explain this bit, if you can throw some light on why so much of injustice against the Baloch people?
Thank you. You see, the simple fact of the matter is that, don't forget, Baluchistan was just not another of the 560 princely states of India, which were given the choice to choose between India and Pakistan. Baluchistan had an independent treaty relationship with London. It was like Nepal, it was like Sri Lanka, it was like Myanmar or Burma of yours, right? They had direct treaty relationships with London. There was no question of asking them to choose between India and Pakistan. They were an independent state, like Nepal. So what Pakistan did is that it just attacked. It's like attacking Nepal and capturing it and making it a part of India. So they just grabbed hold of Baluchistan, and not that it is 40% of the territory of Pakistan, but just with about 2 to 3% of its population, very sparsely populated area. They wanted for its minerals, for its uranium, its gold, its copper, its tungsten, and what have you. They wanted for its ports, the Gwadar port, the Omara port, and the ports on the Gwadar shoreline, which the Chinese are deeply interested in, very deeply interested in for their so-called Belt Road corridor, because it saves them the voyage around India near the 10-degree channel near Andamans and through the Malacca Strait into South China Sea and into East China Sea, etc., etc. It saves them about 15-20 days of voyage. If they can, from Middle East, get straight to Gwadar, Karachi, and pump their oil upwards, pump their resources upwards to Xinjiang, and from there back to China. Right? So it is as part of a very deliberate kind of a strategy that this is being done. The Baloch people, quite obviously, are not very happy at being exploited, looted. The rate at which they sell natural gas in Pakistan, it's almost virtually for free, because they are just sucking it out of Baluchistan and exploiting the resource. And there have been 5 major counter-insurgency campaigns in Baluchistan, and it's like war. It's not the way we fight insurgency just with small arms, with tanks, with bombers, with F-16s, with artillery, everything they have used. Even today, youths are picked up from the streets of Baluchistan, tortured, and their dead bodies are thrown into the streets for the dogs to eat. I think it is the duty of India as the largest democracy of the world, the largest democracy in South Asia, to speak up for the long-suffering people of Balochistan, to speak up for the human right
Absolutely.
atrocities. The
Yes.
pity is that it is Pakistan which has put us on the back foot. You know, barrage of human rights violations in Kashmir, most of
Yes.
which are
Yeah.
98% pure, arrant nonsense. They've gotten away with it just because they are proactive. And we like to sit back and be Gandhian and turn the other cheek and get slapped. And then we have a whole lot of leftist, liberal, media persons here to
Yeah.
support the Pakistani narrative, the Chinese
Yeah.
narrative. And they are quite rich.
Yeah.
They have huge bungalows and they have butlers and what have you, which you can't get on the pay that you get from a channel,
Yes.
right? So this is extremely dangerous as to what is happening. And
Yeah.
we must support morally, give moral support to the Baluch people. And if Pakistan doesn't behave, I would go to the extent of saying we should go give a tit for tat. Do what they are doing in J&K, do what they are trying to do in Punjab, give it back to them in the same coin. Thank you.
Sir, you were involved in, yeah, sir, you were involved in the war between West Pakistan when Bangladesh was East Pakistan, and you would have seen some very horrifying scenes. What has really shaken you when you were in that war? Is there something that has really shaken you, in spite of being a very valiant, you know, officer?
Look, I have seen much more combat thereafter, frankly, and I was too junior at the stage of Bangladesh. I was just a second lieutenant, just out of the academy. So the fact of the matter is, we've seen that war. My batch has seen that war. We have paid the steepest price. Second Lieutenant Arun Khetrapal Paramveer Chakra is my batchmate. He was killed in that war, and so many of my batchmates were killed. Some lost their legs, some lost their arms, etc. They are badly wounded, crippled, hobble on plastic limbs. But what we were horrified with was the scale of the genocide that the Pakistan army had unloosened and unleashed in then East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. There were about 3 million Bangladeshis killed, a million Bangladeshi women raped,
Yes.
and about 10 million and more Bangladeshi refugees pushed out into India to collapse the Indian economy by the very load, the economic load. Very deliberate strategy of demographic aggression, ethnic cleansing, genocide. I mean, that's horrifying. It is the most terrible thing. It was the year of the vulture. There were vultures everywhere in Bangladesh. There were corpses rotting in the sun, right? And to cap it all, it had started with the Bhola cyclone,
Yes.
which had killed almost a million people. And then this was followed by this, it was like, God's fury against the poor people of Bangladesh,
Yes.
unleashed. And it was a just war that we fought by liberating the people of Bangladesh, by helping them to get free. And the moment they were free, we came out of it.
Yeah. So we have witnessed time and again Chinese forces trying to infiltrate into our territory. Only then do we respond or react. The pressure is always from Chinese side, not from our side. Why is India not adopting a proactive policy to reverse the pressure?
Look, the simple fact is that this is not a new thing. Take a look at Indian history. Where are all the decisive wars that decided the fate of India, or at least North India, were fought? At
Yes.
Panipat, 100 kilometers plus from New Delhi. You choose this as the battlefield because it's a flat open ground and you are too bloody lazy to go to your own border, right? So you choose to fight all the critical battles of India. You let the enemy come into Panipat before you react. and then it is too late to react. Then you lose every single battle of Panipat, all three. We have lost. Have you understood that? It is an Indian tradition. And then to cap it all on this Indian tradition of being reactive, being defensive, being never being proactive, considering aggression as a sin, comes the bloody Gandhian philosophy of turn the other cheek. And 800 years, the people of India have suffered invasion after invasion.
Yes.
Their cities have been burned, their temples have been destroyed, their women have been raped and sold in slavery in the brothels of Bukhara and Kabul and Samarkand and what have you. And all that you have learned is non-violence. Is there a more shameless set of people? A more shameless set of people? Is this what you learn from your history? You want to turn the other cheek?
Yes.
I mean, what more do you want? This is abominable, man, and we have let it happen. But thank God we are now turning the other side, and thank God the Chinese gave us a kick in 62, which shattered our illusions about ahimsa and world peace and being the champions of Mohabbat and love. And I think you deserve a kick on your pants. You got it from the Chinese. And then we have woken up, and thank God there is a big bloody change. Because then we had 71, and then we broke Pakistan in two, and today you are a major military power. The Chinese are scared. So the Chinese know if push comes to shove, they could cut a very sorry figure against the Indian armed forces. That is a fact. And it is my humble, sincere advice that give it back to them. Call their bluff. They are in no position to fight. They are just in a position to posture. Call their bluff. Yeah.
Sir, do you think the Chinese are responsible for COVID?
They are 100% responsible for COVID. We have done adequate research on this. Just the clinching evidence that is needed, which must be found in the form of an international inquiry against China. Look, the simple fact is that the Chinese strategic literature is full for the last 15, 20 years of the need to use biological warfare as a first strike to weaponize the virus. They have been talking in their strategic literature, military literature is full of this. Any fool who studies Chinese military writing will know that they have been talking of biological warfare. The Wuhan Institute of Virology was carrying out research in bat-borne coronaviruses. And they had done it in collaboration with the Americans, if you see. And they had identified 89 varieties of bat coronavirus. Right? Why is it that months before the coronavirus outbreak, China had purchased the rights of the remdesivir medicine, which is the antidote to coronavirus? Do you know that Dr. Shi, there's a Dr. Shi Zheng Li, Dr. Shi Zheng Li in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, a major general in the PLA, who had written 4 papers on weaponizing the bat coronavirus, of using the SARS hook molecule, grafting it onto the bat coronavirus. There were 4 papers he had written.
Yes.
Years back. And suddenly last year they vanished from all computer sites. Alright? They just vanished. And she also vanished for a while.
Yeah.
And now there are clear indications that, initially the whole of WHO, and we know who was funding the WHO and some of the top people in the WHO, they were all supportive of China. Oh, it is a natural epidemic. It is a natural epidemic that has broken out in the wet markets of Wuhan, right? The notorious wet markets of Wuhan. The simple fact is no bats are sold in the market of Wuhan. This is a bat born coronavirus.
Yeah.
It has made the jump from bats to humans, not because of natural factors, but because the Chinese deliberately, genetically engineered this virus.
Yeah.
Engineered this virus. And then they hit this virus. How is it that this virus spread in Wuhan? But it did not reach Beijing and it did not reach Shanghai, which is just 800 and 1000 kilometers respectively from Wuhan. But it reached New York, it reached Italy, and it reached Europe, and it reached India, and it reached everywhere else. Because the Chinese allowed people to go out once the virus was affected. They did not block the borders. They kept the borders open. And if any country closed the borders with China, they took it as a kind of a prestige thing. And Yang Yi, their foreign minister, put pressure to open the bloody borders. This was to export this virus. Who has gained the most from this virus? Who was most prepared for this virus? Who has recovered the fastest from this virus? You know, they just deliberately let it happen in Wuhan because then nobody can blame them.
Yes.
Nobody, because the American nuclear doctrine states that if somebody uses chemical or biological warfare against us, we reserve the right to retaliate with nuclear weapons.
Yes.
So had it not happened in China and had it happened all over, people would have traced it back to China and then China would have had hell to it. So China has very deliberately, there is this speculation that they have masked this by doing it in Wuhan itself and from there letting it radiate out to Europe to weaken all their adversaries, their enemies. What has happened since the virus? The high-tech companies that were in China panicked. They sold their stocks and canned. The Chinese bought them all up. They virtually nationalized these companies. They had already made lots of masks and ventilators and things like that, and remdesivir, etc. They have made a huge profit trying to sell it. They recovered the fastest, and their economy is up and going, while the other economies are all deep in recession, right? And then they started acting aggressive all over along their periphery. East China with Japan, across the Taiwan Straits with Taiwan and the United States, in South China Sea with Philippines, with Malaysia, Indonesia, with Vietnam, and then in May they started acting aggressive with us. So they seem to be, why this aggression all over, which is against the Chinese, which is against the Chinese strategic philosophy itself of having only one strategic direction at a time. Why all over? Why is it going all over? So that is the curious anomaly. And the only reason that we can think of is that the Chinese armed forces had foreknowledge of this virus bomb which was going to be triggered, and they are trying to exploit the biological warfare strike, the biological warfare Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. So there's a question from CVS Prakash. He says, why was 43,000 acres of land of India surrendered to China by Congress?
Look, I think that question is better addressed to the Congress. The Congress, because of its pusillanimous policies of peace, ahimsa, Gandhianism, non-violence, has terribly sacrificed the interest of this country. We should have contested the Chinese invasion of Tibet. We did not. We left Tibet to the wolves. And today you are paying a price for it. And then you were wanting to have peace with China at any cost, to placate China, to suck up to China, to give China the UN Security Council seat that had been offered to you. I mean, what more can you say? The less spoken of that sordid chapter, the better. Hello.
Yeah. So coming to the
I'll just take one more question, then I have to go.
Yes, yes. So coming to the Sushant case, sir, what is happening in Bollywood? People are being attacked and media is being attacked, whistleblowers are being arrested, and everybody knows there's a nexus between Bollywood, the underworld, and the politicians. But there's nobody to, they act as though it's a completely different kingdom where they can do whatever they want. What would you say about the Mahavikas Aghadi and what's happening in Maharashtra now, sir?
Uh, Look, the simple fact is that I'm appalled by what is going on. Bollywood constitutes your soft power. One of the major soft power vectors of India is Bollywood, because
Yes.
of which you have huge influence in Africa, Southeast Asia, Central, etc., etc. All these places, huge soft power of India. We have handed it over to Dawood Ibrahim and his so-called gangs, the Gundas, the Mawalis of Mumbai, and the ISI, whose handmaidens they are. Can a country be so stupid as to do this to itself? The dons of Bollywood the dons of Mumbai used to dictate what are the films that should be made, and most of the films had to be made on the dons. Gunde, gangs of Watipur,
Yeah.
Haji Mastan, and I mean, for God's sake, is that the folk hero that you want to propagate to your youth from Bollywood? Be a murderer, a don, a smuggler, a rapist. That is the highest role model you can set to the youth in India, not the armed forces, not the Paramveer Chakra winners, not the Ashok Chakra winners, the gang lords, the slum lords of Mumbai. Because they finance, they have the money, they were financing people. Thank God we are now breaking that nexus and we are corporatizing Bollywood. But what seems to be happening there is now getting amazing. The freedom of press is under assault. The freedom of speech is under assault. The emergency mindset is back, and they are not even in Delhi. They are just in the provincial capital of Mumbai, and they act as if they own the country. They can kick it around. They can kick you and me around. They can murder anyone and call it suicide. They can, spread drugs all over. They can twist the minds of our youth with the corrupted product coming out of Bollywood.
Yes.
I mean, it is now getting to be very, very worrisome. And what is worrying me the most is the absolute inaction of the central government at Delhi
Yeah,
and
that's what.
the courts. I'm sorry, this is like going to sleep on your watch. This is
Yeah.
extremely tragic. Tragic that they are letting it happen. The first emergency also, our courts had abdicated their responsibility. I think these central organs of state must now step in before we are overtaken by a mafia and made into a banana republic or a clone of Xi Jinping China. What distinguishes us from China? Our liberties of thought, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. And if you are going to become another China now because one provincial satrap wants to tell you he is the new ruler of India, you're going to kick everyone around. And supinely the central government will fall in line, supinely the courts will fall in line. For God's sake, I don't know. I think it's about time for us to realize what exactly is at stake.
Yeah.
What exactly is going on? It goes beyond one actor or two actors, A, X, Y, or Z. Goes beyond one channel, one individual. It concerns the foundational liberties that are guaranteed to us by our constitution. Thank you very much for a very patient listening.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And just one word of advice, sir, to the SSRians who are listening to you from the forces. What is the advice that you could give them?
I think it's about time that we raised our voice on our foundational truth. We can't just go down without a fight. You can't go down without a fight. You can't abdicate your duty, your responsibilities. Rise and raise your voice. Thank you. Jai
Thank you
Bharat.
so much.
Jai Hind.
Thank you.